What's up, Raza? My name is Lucas. I'm a co-founder of Aztlan Libre, Galeria Mestizaje, founder of the Aztlan Archives Project, and co-founder of Revolucionarios Aztlan.
I'm Patricia Cruz, Chicano artist, co-founder of Aztlan Libre, Galeria Mestizaje, Revolucionarios, and also a part or founder of Ihiotl Healing. Yeah.
I'm Vero. I'm part of the Aztlan Youth Brigade. I'm currently the secretary, and I'm also working on the Aztlan Archives.
Hi, my name is Raquel. I go by Rocky. I'm a member of Revolucionarios as well as the Aztlan Youth Brigade, and also volunteering with Aztlan Archives.
What's up, Raza? This is Chicano de Oro. Some of you know me as Juan Carlos. And yeah, I'm a bunch of things, but I'll share that. I'm part of Unión del Barrio, Revolucionarios Aztlan, and I'm here for y'all. Yeah.
Period.
Yeah, we wanted to start this project off by kind of explaining the meaning of Aztlan Libre, the goals of it, and also where Revolucionarios and the Youth Brigade come in, because I think there's a lot of confusion out. Like, people think we're just a shop. Some people come in and they think we're just a community space. And, we're really everything. One thing Patricia always says is we're what the community needs at that moment. So it always is shifting. So I don't know if you want to share a little bit about how we started, when you guys originated in the space here in the beginning.
Tell them.
Yeah, sure. So I want to say that, we're coming to you all from San Diego, Califaztlan. And we, about 6 years ago now, opened up Copal y Tierra here on Logan Avenue, about a half block from Chicano Park, our Chicano movement mecca. And so when we opened up Copal y Tierra, it was myself and 2 other women. And within 3 years, that shifted, and the other 2 women that were part of the project left. And so Lucas and I decided to take over the space, and it became Aztlan Libre. And something that's beautiful and that we have documented are some photos of the outside of the building, which is really interesting because the outside of the building at that time was this really beautiful brown, earthy colors. And now when you come and check out Aztlan Libre, you're gonna see that those earthy colors have turned into nopales and this beautiful turquoise teal color, almost like we planted seeds of growth. And so when we were Copal y Tierra, it was only a healing space. And when we talk about healing, it was meditation and breath work and women's circles and this kind of healing that we're seeing nowadays a lot more. But healing comes in different forms. And so when we became Aztlan Libre, the healing looked different. It became resources for people, meeting people where they're at. It became identity circles versus just women's circles or full moon circles. It became, tools, healing tools, copal, of course, poposhkomis. But furthermore, it became tools of like resume workshops and, pláticas and, know your rights gatherings and all of these different things. Then the gallery component was added to it, and so now we have our own Galeria Mestizaje, for all Chicanos and Chicana artists to come through and be empowered and have a space to show. And then myself as an artist, that's such an important component and such an empowering component, that we have our own spaces, that we have our own walls to be able to showcase who we are. I could say so much more, but I want to hand it off to Lucas so he can talk more about the activism that happens inside Aztlan Libre.
Yeah, the shift was really important because, as she shared, healing does come in all forms. And myself, in the upbringing I had, all of us really, we all look to the Plan de Aztlan. And we look at our Chicano activism and we realize for us to have a space like this, for us to talk, for us to be able to say Chicano, it comes with historical baggage. There's been 500 years of struggle that got us to the point where we're at now. And within that struggle, people began to have these conversations, have these conversations around identity, about what our community needs, about how do we, instead of looking to the oppressor all the time, how do we as a community begin to create these networks? How do we create these spaces? How do we create this level of comfort in our communities, which we see that slowly getting eroded? You know, we see that with gentrification. We see that with the police forces in our community being amplified. We see it with active displacement. We see it with the houseless population. We're being removed from our communities, and with that, we're losing our roots and our history. So we found it important that when the shift happened from Copal y Tierra, that we kept the space. You know, we had to keep it because there's so many places on Logan Avenue that people can walk to that they don't feel welcome in. And why don't they feel welcome in? Because they're businesses. They're businesses and they're there for money. You know, that's point blank simple. They're there to succeed or fail, and they look at it in the capitalist mindset of that's how it is. That's the free market. That's what we're going to do. And for us, instead of looking at it as we're here to make money, we're here to sustain the space. So there's the shop component, of course, where it's like we're going to make money, but again, it's not a shop to just be a shop. We look to the Plan de Aztlan, which has different points, and one of the points is economy. So we as Chicano should be helping and empowering our brothers and sisters, which is what we do in the space. You know, that's the form of activism we look at in that regard. How do we take people who are vending on the weekends, where it's very important supplemental income, and how do we sustain them throughout the week? You know, and that's where we open up the shop, and all of our vendors are all local. You know, they're all local vendors, they're all local artisanals that do this work, and it's for them to be able to support them. We have youth that sell outside of the shop. You know, they sell inside the shop also. And it's a chance for them to be able to make money as they're in their journey, whether it's college, whether it's just figuring out their work plan, whatever it may be. It's a chance for them. And it's important that we create our own economy, because more often than not, we go to other stores, we go to fast food chains, and you know, it's out because we have no other choice. But then the question becomes, where does that money go? You know, where does it end up going? And here we hope that we can continue to use that money to fund the programming. You know, the same thing with the gallery. We created the gallery, as Patricia shared, for Chicano artists, because why do we have to continue to beg Balboa Park, La Jolla, North Park, for them to accept our art? Why do we have to beg to be included in Hispanic Heritage Month one time out of the year for our art to be on display in these spaces? You know, rather than looking to the oppressor again, let's create our own space. Let's put our own people on the pedestal. Let's highlight our own artists, make them feel welcome, make them feel special, give them that same treatment that they should be getting when they go into these spaces. So that's where the gallery comes in. And you know, the resume workshops and the Know Your Rights trainings that we host here are imperative because we have a responsibility to arm our community with knowledge. Because again, these issues haven't gone anywhere. As gentrification ramps up, police presence ramps up, as gentrification ramps up, these predators come in that are trying to buy properties and flip them. They're trying to come in and change the neighborhood's makeup, and ultimately they want to change the identity. Because I can tell you, years ago, when you said you were in Logan, people would say, for what? What are you doing down there? Why are you going down there? Like, it's not safe down there. And now, all of a sudden, this is the place to be. You'll see people walking around with their horchata lattes, watching the lowrider. It's a whole 180. But it's important that when they come into a space like this, and the hope is everybody follows this model, is that the history is shoved in their face. And a lot of that's going to Chicano Park. You know, Chicano Park is the anchor for our community, and it allows for us to be Chicano and for us to maintain spaces like this and tell that history. But with all the work that's been going on, you know, we had, you know, myself, I'm the former chairman of the committee, and my family's been involved since the takeover. My grandmother was there at day one with my mother at 2 years old, and she's the longest serving chairperson of the committee. And if it wasn't for her leadership and her work, the park would not be what it is today. You know, other people may try to take credit, they'll try to ride her coattails, but really, Tommy Camarillo was the one that sacrificed her life, her luxury, the comfort, for 40 years for the park to be what it is. And she dedicated 54 years of her life to this community. And with that being shared, we learned a lot of different things, and we had a meeting with some of our brothers and sisters throughout Aztlan, and we began to talk about a youth component. And I'm going to pass this over to Rocky so she can share, but the Aztlan Youth Brigade, they're hosted here, and it's a collective of youth that are not just in San Diego, but they're all throughout Aztlan, and they all work together.
Yeah, giving a little bit of context before I kind of start giving the more history on the Aztlan Youth Brigade, kind of piggybacking off of what Lucas was saying. I was a part of that meeting, and we have sister territories all throughout Aztlan, and for some reason it came up that it was very imperative to have that youth component. And at first, everyone was kind of like, oh, it would be cool, but no one really had the youth to do it in other spaces. And that's kind of where I started coming in a little bit more. I have been a Chicana since I was 12, but I kind of helped out here and there with my mom and Lucas doing little things, but I didn't get involved heavily until I was 17, once that conversation came up. Once that meeting ended, my mom and Lucas looked at me and they're like, well, you know what you gotta do now. And after that, we held a cleanup in Chicano Park on January 2nd, 2022. And that is the first ever kind of event that youth led. And after that, we had gotten some members, which just consisted of myself, my brother, and 2 of my friends. And we were the first founding members of the Aztlan Youth Brigade. One of our first official members, he's now the current chair. His name is Christian. He still serves as the chair when this goes out. And he was our first ever member that came from that. I remember people were asking us, oh, what's your name? Where can we find you? And I remember me and Christian specifically freaking out because we had no Instagram. We didn't even have a name yet. We were just 5 in a group of kids that knew they wanted to make a difference but didn't really know what else we were doing. So that day we came back to the shop and me and Christian were freaking out trying to figure out a name. And we went to my mom, which is Patricia Cruz, and she was like telling us about the different components that used to happen in the movement. So our name, the Aztlan Youth Brigade, also pays respects to a different youth component that was out in Denver, and they were called the Chicano Cadets. That was when it was the Crusade for Justice and when Denver used to be a powerhouse. And they still are a powerhouse of the Chicano movement. But to pay homage to them and the work they did with youth, we called ourselves the Aztlan Youth Brigade. And it's also thanks to my mother that we have that name, because we freaked out for a good hour about what to call it. So that day we made an Instagram, and Christian made our first ever logo, which is still, I believe, pinned in our Instagram. And we created an email. And after that kind of solidified us a little bit more. 3 years later, here we are, a solid group of members still. We've been doing a lot more workshops and a lot more social events, because our goal is to continue to have youth come in and be curious about the Chicano movement and how do we make that digestible for younger kids coming in, For us, it was very much a space where we could come in and kind of vent about different things that were happening, until Lucas came in and started giving us a little bit more history with his grandmother's archives. And it started becoming more of an educational space for us to be as well. And with that too, I want to pass it off to Vero to be able to get in a little bit more on what it means to her and how it affects her doing the Aztlan Archives project.
I recently just hopped on helping Lucas with the Aztlan Archives, and I think it's a really cool opportunity because I get to see a lot of things that are part of my history, a lot of things that the American school system is not going to teach you about and tell you about until maybe you get to college, and I feel like that's not really fair. It's not inaccurate.
We pause this podcast for this important PSA.
Go ahead, Vero, go ahead.
What was I saying?
American school system.
Oh yeah. I don't think it's fair that we get to learn about our history until we're in college. And so being able to take the opportunity and to help with the archives and read the documents and see what really went on in like the 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s regarding like everything with the Chicano movement here in San Diego. It's a really good, not only educational opportunity, but also professional opportunity. It's gonna really help me in my future too. And also with the Aztlan Youth Brigade, I've been in it for almost a year now, and it's helped me with not only my Chicana identity, but it's helped me with school, it's helped me with finding a sense of purpose for my future career, and really focusing on what it is that I want to make a difference on. And it's given me an outlet and a platform to do the things that I've always wanted to do, which is helping people, and most importantly, helping my community, my raza.
Yeah, and I think with everything being shared, this is where we want to start kind of explaining everything, you know, because it's a lot of things that we do a lot, and the space is always shifting. But I guess the structure would go, so when I was with the chairman of the committee, we wanted to do a lot of work, and we did backpack drives, we did Easter basket collections, toy distributions, you know, we did the community gatherings before where we do barbecues, and it was all of this work to build engagement within the community, you know, because for a while the committee was stagnant, you know, it was, if you don't know a member or you weren't a member, you're not getting in. And the goal that we had was, how do we bring in a raza to get excited and empowered to hand this off to the next generation? And with that in mind, a lot of the work we were doing, it just didn't fit in what the CPSC elders wanted. You know, they had their own vision of things. They were not going to shift it. They were not going to change in those views. So rather than arguing and creating resistance, we created our own organization, which is Revolucionarios de Aztlan. And we've learned from different movements, and we've seen that when you have a figurehead, it can easily upend the entire organization. You know, once that figurehead gets taken out, they get sick, they fall ill, whatever it is, the organization can collapse in on itself. So the importance of Revolucionarios is we're a collective, you know, and it's beautiful because one of the things we train the kids in, one of the things we talk to each other in, is the importance of meeting people where they're at. So with Revolucionarios Aztlan, we don't expect people to be the ultimate organizer. We don't expect people to come in knowing the entirety of the Chicano movimiento. We don't expect them to have a huge background. We don't expect them to even be these giant warriors. What we expect is that you want to give back to your raza, and you're willing to learn. So a lot of the people that we do work with, like Jen, like Mex, like Strive, like Vanessa, like Eric, and Mimi, and many others, and Juan Carlos here, like all of the work that we do is because we love our raza. You know, and that's the most important thing. We don't do the work because we hate white people. We don't do the work because we hate capitalism. We don't do the work because we hate anybody. We do it because we love giving back to our raza. And we got Abraham in here working. Hey. And one of the things he shared with me that always sticks out to me is he says it like all the time. Like, I was the kid that went and got things. And I trip out that now I'm the kid that gives out those things. And that's what we want to develop. We want to develop that spirit of, let's plant these seeds. So when these kids grow up, when our neighbors start coming into this conciencia, it's how do we start giving back? So that's where Revolucionarios comes in. And we're also the parent organization of the Youth Brigade, because one thing we learned is that youth do not want to listen to adults. They do not want to. You tell them to do something, they're going to resist and fight and say no. So, and, you know, honestly, like, I learned that in the committee too. You know, when we have ideas, we get shut down all the time. And it's like, you know what? Let's give them that freedom that we all want. Let them do their own organizing. But as much as, you know, you want to give them 100% freedom, as young organizers, there is guidance needed. So that's where Revolucionario comes in. We try to help facilitate and push those conversations, provide trainings with other elders, like Revolucionario member, I'm proud to say, Jessica Rosacio.
Hey.
You know, he's come in and done a lot of work with these kids, you know, and training them about how to organize, how to get involved in their neighborhood. And all of this to say that everything we do, although we got different Instagram pages and we all have all these different titles under our belt, and whatever it may be, it's all under one movimiento. And this ties back to another conversation I had with Constancio, where it's like, how do we bring back La Causa? Because back in the day, La Causa was just the general term we used for every fight. Immigration issues, issues with police, was always, anything we did was for La Causa. The fight was La Causa, La Causa. So this goal with this podcast and this like network that we're creating and these conversations is to get back to that. Like, how do we all link everything together? How do we make sure our fight is viewed nationally? Because as we learn in our travels, and I'm sure some of the things we share resonating with those listening, is a lot of these issues are the same everywhere. And how do we tie it all back together? So right now we're looking at trying to help out and getting more information in these conversations through audio. You know, with the archives, you know, I'm thankful for my grandmother who saved everything from the last 54 years now. You know, she had the foresight to save those documents, nobody else. And with that, we're able to teach the history, but also put it out so others can learn about these struggles throughout Aztlan and hopefully get motivated to fight.
Yeah, a lot more to come. Voz de Aztlan, the voice of Aztlan. Anybody have anything to say? Anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, I think just so, like, the Voz de Aztlan, this is like our, let's just say our network. You know, again, it's the Plan de Aztlan. We're creating our own institution here, and that's the goal of this. And it's not going to be, I can't say it's going to be monthly, I can't say it's going to be weekly, I can't say it's going to be daily, but I can say it's going to be consistent. Things will be coming out, and it's going to be under different names. So we have Christian, who does Chamaco Talks. We'll be sharing those here, you know, digitally and helping him stream it. The young brother does all the work, video editing and everything. So if you have a chance, follow them at Aztlan Youth Brigade.
Aztlan.youth
At
brigade.
Aztlan.youth Brigade on Instagram, so you can see the videos that he puts together. We're also going to be having, you know, conversations on art. You know, we're going to be having conversations on news, on history, and you know what? Like, it's also important to point that, like, Chicanos don't have to be so serious, man. Like, we're going to be having conversations on things we also enjoy too. Because we get stuck in the fight, we get stuck in the struggle, but, you know, we all have our hobbies and things we get enjoyed in, and I think it's important that we share that. So other people listening out there, if you don't fit the stereotypical mold of what a Chicano is that people try to put out there, don't let that stop you from calling yourself a Chicano. We got punk Chicanos, we got gamer Chicanos, we got Chicanos every shade, every color, man, and every type of hobby and personality. So the hope is that as we do these, people start learning a little bit, and hopefully you get comfortable to call yourself a Chicano. And it's also, we're going to be sharing a lot of the work that we do too, and doing call outs for assistance and help. But anybody listening too, if there's any causes that you're working on that you want to uplift, send us a message, let us know, we'll share it. Maybe we go hop on, do a Zoom call. You know, this is just growing as it needs, and we want this to be like the space. As it continues to go, wherever Raza needs it to go, we will. You know, wherever conversation needs to be had, we will.
That's right.
No.
All right. No, pues. Anything to add?
Well, I'm excited to kick off the art component as an artist, uplifting Chicano Chicanas art, but also just stories of, you know, how we navigate this world of art and what that means, and anything from, like, it not even necessarily just Chicano Chicana identities and these pieces, but grounded in that and rooted in that also, you know, different forms of art, you know, a body of work, you know, how to get into these other galleries and what's necessary to do those things, and, you know, and kind of like hear each other out, bounce off ideas, have some guest artists on. And also, you know, the component of mental health and how art and activism and giving back to your community, you know, how all of these things empower us and make us feel purposeful and allow us to put out beautiful energy of taking care of each other. I think that's really important. So I'm just excited to, you know, bring on some guests and kind of like tackle those things.
You guys excited about anything?
I'm excited for what this year has to come, as like speaking on like activism and just opportunities that there will be to help our people, especially during this new presidency. And I don't think we really said much about the Aztlan Youth Brigade. as terms of like what we do and stuff like that. So we meet every Wednesday. We have well, sometimes I think our longest meeting has gone to like 3 hours. So
Don't worry, that's not long. And compared to other meetings, oh man.
so
Okay, but like honestly,
we're
half the
youth.
time,
We're youth.
like we're just chilling. It's just a meeting, but like we're chilling for like an
We're
hour.
productive.
Yeah,
We're
it's like a productive chill,
Yeah.
you know?
We get ready for our food drive, or no, not food drives, our food distributions
Yeah.
that are once every month on the third Thursday of the month. We prepare the bundles together while listening to music and everything. We help with Desempati, with like Mochilaton, with the present giveaways.
Camp.
The camp. Oh yeah, I really love the camp. It was really cool. It was a really cool opportunity for me because I'm a child development major, so it's like it's right up my alley. And yeah,
We love Mikey.
we love Mikey. Shout out
Mikey.
Mikey, my favorite kid. Yes.
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
sharing a lot more about like all the projects we work on and everything. And it's one thing too I want to say is thank you to Chicano de Oro because he's the guy that he's modest, but he has a lot more experience in podcasting than we do. He's done a lot of work with Village Voice Radio and Pablo Aceves podcast. This guy does his own music, man. So with his ear, it's helpful for sure.
We do our own music.
Shout
We have a
out
project
Chicano de
out.
Oro.
It's called Plan del
Chicano de Oro.
Barrio, Volume 1. Carnal is also one of those modest people. Yes, you know.
Shout out Chicano de Oro, Golden Molding,
I
you know?
appreciate the love nonetheless, but I think, you know, everything that's been mentioned is important. I think everybody's voice is important, so you're going to hear a lot more voices. You might have heard Abraham's voice in the background. You know, he'll be coming in the podcast at some point. Same thing with Pedro Joaquin and other individuals, and I just want to go ahead and just thank all of you for tuning in, and I'm super excited about everything that's going on. I mean, La Voz de Aztlan, for those of you that don't understand that, it's the voice of Aztlan. We're going to be using dual languages, you know, Spanglish, you know, Chicanismo out here, and, you know, a lot of the topics that we do touch on are really serious in nature. We're human beings, you know. We got to be able to navigate these waters in the most human way, you know. So ahead of time, you know, if you can, please subscribe, please share, and yeah, just a lot more things are gonna come out, and just super excited in general. Our identity is something that we lack throughout this society in the United States, specifically. It's never really talked about, only when it's convenient. And you see that now, you know, our identity is kind of put to the side when there's ICE raids, when we're being terrorized in Chicago, in LA, when we're being criticized for our lack of leadership, when we're not even put in positions of leadership. And all of our barrios are just neglected. You know, we just passed the anniversary here in San Diego, and the 22nd was the anniversary of the floods this past year, and we're also having wildfires out here, and we got this individual. He's not my president. They call him Donald Trump. You know, trying to tie the aid that should be coming in from the federal government for assistance to the state of California with voter ID laws and whatnot. Those are serious topics. But music and culture, you know, and politics don't need to be that heavy. So, you know, we're gonna try to break it down as much as we can to make it digestible, because the media certainly does not. Excuse me. So, just appreciate all of you and looking forward to working on this. And yeah, La Voz de Aztlan, the voice of Aztlan. Anything to add? Just like that, like that. There you go. We're gonna work on an intro too.
Yeah, you know, give us a break, man. Like, this is our first. We're kind of getting our footing, and the hope is that we're gonna have our own. Each of us will have our own purpose when we're doing our podcast, so it'll be more clear in the mission and everything. So just keep an ear out and have some patience, man.
Yeah, and right now it's an audio component. Who knows? It might surprise you with the visual component. Chamaco Talks already graduated from his audio component. Chamaco Talks is visual as well, so.
Yeah, it's putting us to shame.
He's ahead of the game.
I wish we could do video because you can see how I think it's one thing to talk about the space, but you can see how beautiful it is. We had Abraham and his homie here, and they're working on the bike.
Yeah.
We have Pedro clicking the sticks in the back, playing his games. Rocky's in the back scanning. Pedro's doing homework and shit. It's a beautiful thing to walk into. I encourage you if you have the time. Before we wrap up, we're on Logan Avenue, 2076 Logan Avenue. We're usually open Wednesday through Sunday. Come by, and again, we're not looking for customers, we're looking for partners. People that want to come through, either support financially. You don't want to support financially, come through, have a conversation. Let's talk Chicanismo, let's talk history, or plug us in with what you're doing, so we know how we can support you too. We're always trying to help out in any other initiatives we can, whether it's local or not. Because again, we know the struggle is national, international, we can get even broader. But right now, we got to focus on the home front because we're getting fucked in every direction.
Let us know if you want to be a guest.
Yeah, if you're interested to be a guest, hit us up at A.Y.B.